In this video, we're going to be looking at how to use the Deepwardly Planner week to week and day to day. So we'll be looking at all of the different elements that are part of the planner as they're listed on pages 25 and 26. But like I did in the last video, I'm going to be offering a sample filling out of these pages. I found that as I used lots of different journals that I got off the internet, many of them didn't give any clarity or sense of how to best utilize the daily pages and the weekly pages, even the review pages. So I think by providing some examples, it's really going to help you to hone in on what each of these parts is offering you. So I really hope the examples are helpful to you. So at the beginning of every month, you'll be invited to kind of preload the month. Take some time to reflect on your desire, your hope for that month. And it begins with the question, how do you feel at the beginning of this new month? Remember, in Ignatian spirituality, feelings, affective movements are extremely important. That's precisely where we get into better touch with our heart's deepest desires. It's where God is often speaking to our hearts. And so taking the time to prayerfully pause at the beginning of each month to be mindful of how you're feeling is important. Maybe you're feeling hopeful, excited about using the new planner. Maybe you're feeling hesitant. If you have any trouble coming up with these feeling words, remember that there's a feeling word list categorized into consolations and desolations in the appendices. So definitely use that. Next is the question, what will progress look like as I imagine finishing the first month of the Deepwardly Planner? That's important. So to be mindful of our three primary desires and mindful of what our hope is just 1 month into living more authentically and having a sense of the tangible progress. I almost hate using the language of progress or success because there can be all sorts of feelings around that and feelings of apprehension or shame if we don't feel like we've made progress. But imagining things can be really important. You know, they talk about in golf the importance of imagining what the perfect hit is going to look like, that drive down the fairway, that actually helps us in our progress. So take time to imagine, what will this look like? And of course, we'll continue with our example of self-care. What will that progress look like? Maybe it'll look like taking an hour every day or almost every day for self-care, including exercise, reading poetry, doing some art, whatever that might be. Also, what are the biggest challenges I foresee in the upcoming month? In particular, the challenges around that self-care. Maybe it's that I'll be on a work trip for 2 of those weeks. And it's going to be harder on a work trip to find time for that hour of self-care each day. Take time to prayerfully be mindful of any of the challenges that might stand in the way of each one of those desires that you are hoping to live into over the month. And then lastly, in addition to growing in my 3 primary desires, this month I'm also looking forward to, this is just a great place to be filled with hope and gratitude. Maybe we're looking forward to the work trips. Maybe we're looking forward to a symphony concert. Maybe we're looking forward to time with our spouse. Shouldn't be our, it should be my spouse. Maybe it's that we're looking forward to cycling in the autumn weather. Whatever it might be, this is a place to put it down. And then you'll find
an opportunity to fill in weekly preloading, weekly what I call mindfulness. On these pages, you will have a place to put in the dates for the week. You'll be reminded of which week you're in as you go through the 3 months. And once again, it'll ask you about how you are feeling at the beginning of the week. And of course, at the beginning of the month, that might be very similar to the first week of the month, but you'll take time to fill that out. What are the primary intentional steps that I'll focus on this week as I move toward living my 3 deepest desires? In other words, on any given week, some of the intentional steps that I wrote down on pages 20 through 22 might fit better. So for example, maybe this week I know that I'm not going to have any time to go out and exercise, but I will have time to eat and prepare healthy meals. Maybe I'll have time to read poetry. I keep misspelling the word healthy. Healthy meals. Maybe I'll have time to read poetry or to listen to music. Whatever those steps might be that seem to fit with this week are the ones that we want to write down there. And then at the end of that page is the intentional step or habit tracker. I find this to be very meaningful. I didn't in the beginning. It's only been a resource and tool in the planner that I have really grown into more recently. But here's where we might put down some of the intentional steps that we most want to focus on. So maybe that's that we want to eat healthy. And how many of those days do we want to eat healthy? Maybe we're going to try to shoot for 6 days that week that we're going to eat healthy. Maybe we're going to try to read poetry 3 days that week. Maybe we're going to try to spend time outside at least 4 of the days that week. And then every day, you'll have an opportunity to come back to this page and check off which days you actually did those particular steps, intentional steps or habits. Like I said, that took me a while to get used to using, but once I did, I found it to be unbelievably meaningful. And then, of course, every day of the planner. This is what I use when I sit down for my personal prayer time each day. Every day I begin my prayer by spending time looking over the day with God. And so it'll always tell you at the top of the page what week you're in as you move through the 12 weeks of the planner. There's an opportunity here to write down the date. And so I might put down that it is October the 3rd, 2024. I know that that is Sunday. And then I write in my schedule first. And typically I'm up at 5 a.m. and so there's not a 5 a.m. but I did include an extra line here, and I put down that I'm going to spend time in prayer. Of course, on a Sunday this may not be the case, but a work day, often my first spiritual direction appointment is at 7:30. I might put down who it's with and whether we're going to meet in person or FaceTime. I might have another appointment at 9. I might have another one at 11. Maybe I'm going to get my hair cut at noon. Then I have another appointment at 1 o'clock. Then maybe I have another appointment at 3 o'clock. That would be a pretty typical day for me. And maybe there's nothing in particular that I have going on that evening. But there are plenty of lines if you do take appointments or have particular things with your kids or family members in the evenings. After I take time to prayerfully fill out my schedule, just talking with God about which of those appointments maybe are bringing me greater hope or joy, which ones might be stressing me out, or I've got a particular desire or prayer for them, then I move on to the section of my desires and today's intentional steps. It might feel a bit redundant But every single day, it's important to rewrite in each of the desires that you put on pages 20, 21, and 22. So every day I'm going to write self-care. Maybe my second desire is for adventure. Maybe my third desire, which it's not letting me write in on this particular PDF, maybe that is appreciation. Then I'm going to list what intentional steps I intend to take that particular day. Maybe for self-care, I know I can get a bike ride in later that day. Maybe I know that at 4 o'clock I'll be able to go for a bike ride. And so I'm going to go ahead and put down exercise. Maybe I know that I'll have a chance to read some poetry later in the afternoon while I have lunch. Maybe under adventure, I'm going to spend extra time outside. And maybe under appreciation, I'm going to fill in the gratitude journal that's part of the Deepwardly Planner. You don't have to have 3 intentional steps, just like you don't have to have 3 particular desires. Maybe you only had 1 desire for the next 3 months. Maybe you had 2. Simply fill in the intentional steps that you feel like you want to focus on during that particular day. And then, I don't know about you, but every single day I have extra to-dos that I want to focus on. Maybe I need to get some laundry done. Maybe I am going to vacuum the house. Maybe I need to call the insurance agent. Whatever it might be, I write these in that particular day. One of the new features to the second edition of the Deepwardly Planner is the meal, water, and exercise journal. Here's where I might put down that I'm going to drink 2 waters. And I have a very specific big mug that I drink water out of. And so I want to keep track of how much water I drink. Maybe here is where I also, if I'm trying to be healthier and I'm doing, let's say, intermittent fasting, maybe I put down that at 10 a.m. I'm going to have a healthy cereal plus some almond milk. And then maybe because of intermittent fasting, I'm going to put down that at 5 p.m. I'll have a chicken salad. You can use these lines however you desire. Maybe this is where I also put down that I hope to cycle at least 12 miles. However you want to use those to best live into your authenticity is how you should use them. There's no set way, but it does give us a chance then to check off not only the to-dos, but to really track how we're doing in those particular things. So this is the left page of the planner each day. The right page will offer a quote, often from St. Ignatius of Loyola, at least one a week, but also from some other amazing authors. And some of those quotes are simply quotes attributed to them. There's not necessarily a reference, and so I put that disclaimer in the planner. But all of the quotes are ones that make my heart shimmer. One of the things that I like to do at the very beginning during my prayer time is to go down and fill out today's gratitude. I call this the gratitude journal. That's part of the planner. This is where I simply take time to thank God for various specific things. And then during my prayer time, I use the journaling page to unpack and continue to explore whatever topic of conversation God and I are having. The next morning in prayer, or at the end of that particular day, I will often come down and circle which of the faces best describes my impression of the day. And most importantly, why? So maybe it was a really great day. why was it a great day? Maybe I felt focused and got a lot accomplished. Or if the day was a really bad day, maybe it's because I was grieving the death of my dog. It's simply a way to reverence once again how we were feeling, to be mindful that God is always present with us in the midst of what we're going through. Our God is not the puppeteer. He's not the Santa Claus God who's fixing everything. He is a God who is an intimate companion with us, even a friend, a mutual friend on this journey with us. And then this box is simply a reminder to go to the habit tracker for that particular day. Remember, that habit tracker was hopefully ribboned or flagged so that you can quickly go back to it and mark down that, yes, I did 1 or 2 or however many of the habits and intentional steps that we're tracking. So that little box there each day is simply a reminder to note the habit tracker. Lastly, at the end of each week, I offer an end of the week review. It's so important for us to take time to reflect on our journey. I think it was Socrates who said the unreflected life isn't worth living. There is a profound meaning that's offered to us when we take time to reflect. And so here are some reflection prompts. During this past week, I was most grateful for. During this past week, my primary emotion was. During this past week, the most significant moment was. Maybe it was in prayer. Maybe it was outside of prayer. Maybe it was something I noted in my journal. Maybe it wasn't. But what was the most significant moment? In the past week, my greatest success was. During the past week, the most meaningful consolation was. And remember, in the Deep Orderly Planner, I define in the introduction what a consolation is and what a desolation is. So in the past week, the hardest desolation was this. During the past week, I cared for myself by doing what? By being how with people or circumstances or creation. In the past week, I added value to the world by. This one's really meaningful and important to me. Remember, the reason why we are living authenticity is not simply for ourselves. It's for the sake of bringing light and love into the world. We're building the kingdom of God. This is the great Christ project. We are the body of Christ. How are we bringing value, light, and love into the world? And so taking time to be mindful of that is important. Lastly, during the past week, I gained the following insights from the habit tracker. The habit tracker is a great way to start noticing patterns in how we're even feeling, how we are reacting or responding to the patterns of living into our most authentic desires. So take time, please take time to pay attention to the insights that the habit tracker can offer. And then lastly, I offer this prompt. Take time prayerfully reflecting on the answers above, that most deeply captures the attention or curiosity of your heart. In other words, whichever one of those prompts above captured the attention and curiosity of your heart the most, take time to prayerfully reflect on it. Share with God what's stirring in your heart around that particular prompt and answer, and why.
I hope those examples were unbelievably helpful and clarifying about how to use this planner. So many of the planners that I tested out and used did not offer a clarity about how to fill out various parts, and so I really hope that was helpful. These pages focused on preloading each month and preloading and reviewing each week are so important that I recommend dedicating a second ribbon to those pages so that it's easy at the end of each week to go back and review and to then prepare for living in authenticity the next week. I recommend that your third ribbon be used for just the day-to-day journal itself. That as you move through each day, it'll be easy to flip back and forth to it. I put my journal in a prominent place in my spiritual direction office, and I refer back to it multiple times throughout the day. Not only to look at the things that I need to do and to look at my schedule, but also to look at how I'm intentionally living into my heart's deepest, most authentic desires. So having that third ribbon can be really, really helpful. I hope that the Deepwardly Journal is a tremendous resource toward intentionality, mindfulness, and ultimately authenticity. And once again, if you have any questions or if you need some help, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I hope the journey these next 3 months is an unbelievable blessing, not only to you, but to everyone around you who's going to experience new light and love through your authenticity.